Hey, this is Kyle Kaiser, and you're listening to the Indie Sports Car Podcast.
Hey, ICP fans, another episode of the Indie Sports Car Podcast. What's going on, Phil?
Not much there, Frank. How you been?
I have been extraordinary lately. How about you?
I'm making it, man. I'm making it.
Well, it's better than others, right?
Yeah.
You could always be toeless.
Yeah.
Remember that.
That is true.
There are people in this world with no toes, Phil.
Yeah, that's a way to put it.
Just saying, dude. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's good to have you back on. Now, Phil's a regular. Met him at Pocono, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years ago. I think it was the second IndyCar race. Yeah, the second race back at Pocono. Yeah. Met you and Missy, and ever since then we've been fast friends.
Yes, sir. And, that was the Faithful Day, wasn't it?
No, it was the day before.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right on.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, tell me about it. I can't believe it's been 2 years, over 2 years, man. Miss him every day still. God damn. I mean, gosh darn. Sorry, guys. This is a clean podcast, by the way. So anyway, we just came off of our 3-year anniversary, Phil. We had Spencer Pigot on.
Well, there you go. You have a full-time driver and the Ed Carpenter Racing number 21 now. That's a good deal. It shows that the Mazda Road to Indy is working.
And I've been screaming it all year. Get Spencer Pigot in a full-time ride, because if he stays as Carpenter where he is, by the time they give him the boot, nobody's going to want to hire him because he has practically zero oval experience.
Yeah.
And that's not fair at all. And good on him for doing it, I say.
Yeah. I mean, it's that move, and then a lot of the moves that are coming along with the driver shuffling, and with IMSA's increase of prototypes. I think it's all going to balance itself out. I mean, the move for Brendan Hartley, it's, as an aside, that set off a whole bunch of dominoes in IndyCar, let alone in Formula One. Proves that IndyCar is a great place to be. So if you're actually got the talent and you can do it, you can actually perform, then you'll be there. So, yeah, most cases.
It's just like what Christian's trying to do right now, getting into USF 2000, getting through the door, and then you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, you perform if you're able to win, especially in a one-make series, and dominate and keep on moving up. Yep. Eventually the budget catches up to it, but...
Hey, Mazda's doing a great job with these guys when they win, man.
Yeah, I mean, the one announcement we had based on their prototype program, they're keeping half of their guys in terms of that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So, but let's start with F1. Bahrain was the end. It's the last race.
Abu Dhabi.
Oh, whatever.
Abu Dhabi, yeah.
It's in the same area. Who cares?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
It's dark. There's sand. I get confused. So, dude, I mean, right? It's a desert track, isn't it?
It's a desert track, but it's next to the difference is there's Ferrari World right next to it. So that's the difference between Abu Dhabi and
Ferrari World.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's basically a theme park, Ferrari theme park. It's like Disney World except Ferrari. I was talking about this at my club earlier to a buddy of mine who's also an F1
I am
fan.
interested. Go on.
Yeah, that. I mean, I was looking it up earlier, and I mean, I could bring it up here. I'm curious because I've always said that the only reason I'd go to Abu Dhabi is to go and visit Ferrari World. It has it has a roller coaster. It's a crazy looking thing from above too, and it's already on one corner.
Hold on. Time out.
Yeah.
Find me a roller coaster that doesn't look crazy from an aerial view.
Yeah, well, touche.
I'm just kidding.
But
yeah, but I mean, like,
I was talking more about the aerial view of the whole entire place itself. You have Driving with the Champion, Cinema Maranello, Belle Italia.
Look at those freaking fountains. Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, there's...
Holy crap, that thing looks awesome. That thing looks like a spinner. You see those spinners?
Yeah, the fidget spinners. There you go, multi-sensory simulator. Yeah, so then, oh my god, that alone, tire twist. The Ferrari store, where you'd have to go and give up an organ to go and get Sebastian Vettel's shirt. And then you have to go and give up another organ to go and notice that Kimi Räikkönen's face hasn't changed. That's great. And then...
Yo, there's a great montage on YouTube. It's like 5 minutes long of him going, in the beginning of every single sentence he says.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to talk, because he's a robot. I mean, he's basically... He's Ivan Drago, except with a somewhat of a personality.
Somewhat. Well, comparatively, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, to Ivan Drago, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, he actually has had relations with a woman. I mean, yeah, and it actually looks like a woman, not Brigitte Nielsen. And then had a kid. So the kid actually gets the best out of him. So. He smiles. He actually looks like a human. He actually behaves like a human. It's whatever. Even though he really shouldn't be in the second Ferrari seat. But that's a whole other story.
Yes, he should, because rule number 1 with Vettel on a team: don't you ever put somebody in the garage next to him that even has a chance to best him.
Oh, you mean like Danny Rick?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo, a.k.a. one of a Dale Earnhardt mark. Who would have never known? I never knew that about him. And then he became a Red Bull driver, and then I fully understood, regular Red Bull driver, and then the personality came out. I'm like, oh man, this guy's cool. And he's hanging out. He
has a personality.
Oh, he's just a cool dude. And the good thing about him, I mean, as an aside from the Formula One, there's not much to discuss. Mercedes went 1-2, Bottas won, which Bottas needed going into the winter break, and then Hamilton.
Yeah, that Hamilton, that winter break bullshit, bullcrap. Oh, sorry guys, it's kind of late. Clean podcast. All right. Remember when Lewis held up and let him go by? Because he's such a great guy.
Well, that was at Hungary when he tried to catch Vettel and it didn't work. And then on the last lap, he did a Schumacher and just pulled over and let Bottas by, which people questioned when he was still behind in points. And then the summer break happened, and then...
Oh, summer break.
Yeah, the summer break happened, and then... all kinds of craziness went down at Singapore and Spa and Monza and Singapore, and it turned the whole entire season around. Hence why...
Baku.
Yeah, well... I mean, Baku was the start of it in terms of the, quote, rivalry. I mean, whatever. They're running into each other and nonsense, which ended up allowing Ricciardo to win the race and Lance Stroll, of all people, to get a podium.
kind of.
But long story
It
short,
did shut up
Mercedes
the critics a
dominated.
little bit. I
Yeah.
was happy about that.
Yeah, but the fact is, the funny part is the Force India guys ran into each other and cost themselves a 1-2 finish, which is the thing that people look past, because everyone thinks about Vettel and Hamilton, Ricardo winning. You know, Force India could have went 1-2. It should have
Honestly,
been the first time that team had won since 2003 under the guise of Jordan with Fisichella at Brazil.
I would say if there's any really big positive for a team that is you don't say too many positives about, dude, Force India was top 10 of every race almost, if they weren't as long as they didn't crash into each other.
Yeah.
But they are right next to each other always, you know? So if you race that much next to each other, you're bound to hit each other once in a while, you know?
Yeah, I mean that. Granted, that I could see that because they're both very aggressive, both Checo and Ocon.
And what did Justin Wilson say on this very show? Formula One is not about winning a race; it's about beating the guy next to you in that garage, right?
Yeah,
that was Justin's exact words.
Which, I mean, it's very true. I mean, he had to go and drive. He drove at Minardi, and that was not, you know, Alonso drove there. A lot of guys got their start there, Weber. And then he had to drive for Jaguar, and it was a different world.
Oh, he didn't even race that one season because he couldn't fit in the darn car.
I mean, there's one of my favorite clips on YouTube is when his first race for Jaguar. It was at Germany on the crappy Hockenheim circuit when Tilke went and maimed it, and he set off this great qualifying run. It was like, oh wow, that's an amazing run by Wilson. I'm like, well, yeah, guy can't even fit in the car, and he turned off a nice lap that was like about 6/10 off pole, which, I mean, when you consider it's Ferrari, that was on pole, to be 6/10 off is, you know, or something around that. I don't remember, but it was a really good lap, and everyone was really surprised by it. But hence what he did in Indy cars, and when he was in the right place, he was able to make things happen in cars that nobody else would have been able to do it. So,
and then he finally gets a ride with the top 3 tier team, man. Oh,
yeah.
What the possibilities of the legend he could have been, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact is he left a legacy in terms of how classy he was. It's bigger than racing. It's bigger than his being a great husband and a father is bigger than racing, and
he was a real man.
And the guy had a lead foot. I mean, he had a lead foot and a heart of gold. So good. You couldn't. I mean, I remember the Rolex the one year that he drove for Ganassi and it went bad, and he was gutted by it, and then he came back and he won, or I think it was, or something like that, or he had won with Shank, or he came back and he won with Shank with AJ and Mike and or with what do you call Negri and
Oz Negri and the other one.
Yes, not whatever the guy, the Pro-Am guy.
Moving on.
Yeah, but you know, so I mean, getting back to the race was a procession, which at Abu Dhabi is not that shocking. There's certain sections of the track that are very entertaining, but theoretically the track is a garbage dump in terms of racing. But most Formula One racetracks are. Even tracks.
One racetrack that has more than 2 passing zones. I challenge. Except for Texas.
Yeah, except for Coda. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Spa does, but that's not a.
3 at Spa.
3 at Spa.
Okay, I mean it is
going in a turn 1, going into Eau Rouge and out of Eau Rouge down the Camel Straight, and
if
then
you get
there's
inside, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can go, and then I mean Monza. There's 3, but those are the old. But I'm using the 2 old classic circuits, Any circuit that Tilke
yeah,
has made is not
yeah.
it's a go-kart, overrated go-kart track. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and you can tell the way it's set up, how they're hitting chicanes, apex them, and everything with ease, like barely trying almost. I mean, Suzuka one passing zone. Suzuka turn one. That's it.
Yeah, but Suzuka has never been known for passing. That was back from the beginning. It's a motorcycle track.
It's not an F1 track.
Yeah, I mean, Motegi is a better track for cars than it is for bikes. They have it backwards. But then a guy got killed at Suzuka and motorcycle for MotoGP, hence why they went to Motegi. You talk about
you can't
like
do that.
Yeah. I mean, Spa, what do you call it? Now the Catalunya circuit, because they just seceded or whatever they did. The Circuit de Catalunya, which is a crappy track, has always been a crappy track. They only have
hated in iRacing.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's bad no matter what you do. I hate it in Real Racing 3. That's what I get to play because I can't afford any of the newfangled things. But the fact is, that track is horrible no matter what way you put it. They went and messed it up in cars. For the cars, putting 2 stupid chicanes, and they messed up one of the entries and exits. Like, they changed it for motorcycle, and somebody got killed there. So then they had to go and they made it just like the car circuit. But Jerez, where they ran in the 80s and even in the 90s, the legendary 1997 World Championship where Michael Schumacher decided to drive into Jacques Villeneuve, it didn't work. And then after that, David Coulthard going and becoming the butt boy for McLaren by pulling over for Mika Hakkinen for his first win. That track was an amazing track. There's videos of Senna and Prost qualifying there back in the day. The video of Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen all qualifying on the same exact time to the 1000th in the 1997
really,
European Grand Prix, which is why they went to like 4 or 5 numbers and all that crap because of that. That's a circuit. That's a great circuit. There's circuits they used to run at that are really good. Estoril, they don't run at anymore. They're going back to Paul Ricard,
did they go to Imola this year or are they going next year?
They're not. I don't think they're going back anytime soon. I mean, now that Alpha, which I guess we could segue because the race was whatever. The Alfa Romeo announcement, which isn't shocking. It's a Ferrari brand. They were rumored. We discussed this offline and in terms of the IndyCar program because of Fiat Chrysler, but instead they're basically going to be the junior Ferrari team with Sauber.
Yep.
Next year. More than likely going to have Charles Leclerc, the Formula 2 GP2 champion, and Antonio Giovinazzi, who's been the test driver for Haas as the great NBC team that we won't have anymore next year because they're moving to ESPN, which is a whole other story and a whole other show probably if you get me going.
Well, I have a lot of I have a lot of opinions about ESPN, but we can get into it if you'd like because there's about one other story. This driver Kubica,
Robert Kubica,
yeah, he's showing some major speed out of a Williams, man, that you don't normally see.
Well, it helps. Well, the backstory of Robert Kubica is he almost got killed in a rally car and almost lost one of his hands and forearms and all that in a rally crash. So the guy was a top 5 Formula 1 driver. He was in place to possibly get into a main team, like back then a McLaren or a Ferrari or whatever. Red Bull, I guess, was starting to make their move at that point. He was in that realm, and then he crashed, and now he's been on this odyssey to get back to Formula One, and now he finally's gotten the opportunity. And it basically, if Williams wants to actually contend next year at all in anything, they have to hire him. And they have to make
definitely.
the car for him. Because the guy is a legit... He was Lewis's teammate in F3, you know, like... He competed with Vettel. He stood head-to-head with Vettel, and he stood head-to-head. He won a Grand Prix. He's won a pole. They've been in the same realm. Like, he's been in that realm. There's very few guys... I'm not saying he's going to win a world championship. You're not going to win a world championship in Williams anymore. It's not 1990 anymore, 1992. But he's of the ilk that can compete, that can take a mid-flight team and move them forward. You need that. The Force India duo, like we were talking about, like they make each other better because they're so insistent on trying to kill each other. Not literally. Not literally. I don't because it's happened. It has happened in Formula One.
Yeah.
But they really
you keep
want to
racing
compete.
each other that hard.
They race that
hurt.
hard, so it'll make them better. It's
Sure.
the way that the Renault team is now set up for next year with Hulkenberg and Sainz. You know, the top two teams, I don't believe that's really the case. There's definitely a 1 and 2 driver. Red Bull, Ricardo.
I would go Hamilton, Vettel, Bottas.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And then throw either Verstappen or Raikkonen behind them so they can flip flop depending on whether Verstappen can actually finish a race.
Yeah.
And he has never not finished a race because of himself. It's just his car constantly breaks down.
Well, there was Singapore, but then that was kind of
One.
assisted by Vettel.
Yeah.
And he has crashed and he has made, but the reality is the vast majority of the issues that Verstappen has had have been mechanical. The vast majority of them have been mechanical related. He has put himself in bad spots.
Sure.
He's young, you know, he's rough around the edges. He's a lot like his dad in that way. The difference is he actually really can drive. His dad,
natural talent, I like to say.
Yeah. The natural talent is there. Hence why Mercedes had him, but couldn't offer him anything. So then Red Bull just swooped in and say, hey, you're 14 years old or whatever the hell he was. Go on, drive a Formula One car. And they put him in a Toro Rosso, and the rest is history. Him and Ricardo, that is the closest in terms of, I think, real team competition, even though they both have two different driving styles. They're two different types of personalities, but they're two of the most popular drivers in the sport, bar none.
Oh, hands down.
Bar none, popular. The point is Ricardo has world appeal. I mean, Americans know who he is, mainly because he's just a cool dude, but two, because he's got this Earnhardt thing going, which makes random NASCAR people that
go ahead.
That would want to go and look at this guy, and he has a passion for life and racing. He smiles, he's joking around. How is he a Formula One driver? He's the absolute antithesis of a Formula One driver. He's happy looking, even though he hates losing. So that makes him a real competitor, which is what you want. But the guy's smiling, he's happy, social media, this thing. It makes no sense. But he drives for the right team. I'm curious if and when he moves, which I think will happen in 19, to either Mercedes or Ferrari, that will work.
Whose spot does he take, Raikkonen or Bottas?
Yeah, it's going to work out that way. The second seat, both of those second seats are up for grabs. Raikkonen's car is basically right now a 1-year rental, because whether it's Leclerc, whether it's Ricardo, whether it's
how about Verstappen?
But they just re-upped Verstappen, so that
is true.
They would have to really. The point is, Red Bull made their bed. Their bed is with Max Verstappen. Okay, good, get it.
Yeah.
Granted, he's a very young winner. They like him. They have a one-track mind at Red Bull, where they can only give one really, really good car, and so that's who they want. But if
Actually,
they
I
do
mean,
two
I don't know if
cars,
you looked at the specs for next year as far as well, not engine yet. That's 19, but or 21. I forget.
21, yeah.
Yeah, but the shark fins are gone next year. No more T-wing, right?
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. You think that's going to change it up a little bit? I mean, who knows? We might see Ferrari and Mercedes just drop off because of it. Who knows? Because they put so much R&D into those, sections of the car more than any other team, and now you're going to take it away. Maybe they might be playing backseat to other teams that didn't give too much about it and focus more on the rest of the car. Who knows?
I mean,
But then again, I think
it's
those two
valid.
teams, yeah. But again, I think those two teams focus just enough on every little piece of the car than just have
That's
shark
Formula
fins.
One.
So, yeah,
That's Formula One. I think the cars will look better. That'll be an immediate upgrade, and it would be great if they did that in sports cars as well. Because I don't really care for those shark fins; they look ridiculous. But the
it's like
reality
you're
is,
not an LMP1 car. Stop trying to be.
yeah, the Red Bulls and Ferraris were making progress against the Mercedes at the end of the year. You can say, granted, the championship was over, but they were making progress. So the reality is, three teams were there, really in there. I mean, depending on the session, depending on the track. So I would assume that with generally the same regulations going into next year, minus the engine, the lack of engines, which is just idiotic. It's Formula One. I
Well,
get it
same
if you're,
thing in IndyCar. So
yeah.
we can go
Well,
on about that.
let's be clear here. You're talking about factory efforts. You're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in
Yeah,
Formula One. You have two
true, true.
manufacturers having to supply 22 cars on a regular basis,
Yeah, and
and
neither
it's not
one wants
even
to do it.
balanced at that.
Yeah,
And
and neither one wants to do it.
yeah,
But
and they have
yeah.
maybe a 25-30% of a theoretical budget compared to a Formula One team.
Not
I'm
even
not even
30.
talking
I would
about,
say 5%.
yeah, like they're at the level, they're using the level of like a Sauber or a Haas, Williams, that level, Force India, so that level of team to go and supply a whole field. But then comparing, it's an apples and oranges argument in that sense.
Exactly.
The but
Well, that's the difference between spec and non-spec. You want non-spec, everybody, oh no, it's a spec series, blah 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 blah. Okay, then go to the non-spec series. Have fun watching Formula One.
I mean, non-spec series. I mean, I come from watching all forms of racing, but I mean, most know me based on my previous podcasting with NASCAR. The fact is, those taxi cabs are all the same freaking car except for the front and rear clip. The engine is basically the same engine.
Yep.
And
they're regulated to the T too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the car and the team, but that's a whole other story. But
that's politics. That I don't even know about,
yeah,
sure
and then but they're basically the same car, and they still put on a meh, kind of
that's what I
product
mean.
on most big tracks, unless it's Daytona or Talladega, or unless it's a short track or a road course. They don't put a great product out there. The IndyCar series is the perfect example of when they had a quote spec car with two different engine manufacturers in 2012 through 14. Their great Robin Miller, praying for him.
Some of the greatest racing I've ever seen.
Yeah, they and my only fear is that it'll affect the big oval racing. I think it'll improve the short oval racing. This new package.
Okay. Hold on one second, Tom. You want to move away from Formula One now? We talked enough about it. Yeah. So.
I mean, the Alfa Romeo thing, they got announced, and Kubica hopefully soon will be announced as the driver of the Williams, which will give him a veteran presence. And we can go to the bread and butter of the show. Why you guys are the best Indy podcast there is.
Thank you. And MRTI. And
Yeah.
MRTI, don't forget that.
And Mazda Road Indy, yeah. The reason why there's a good amount of employed people in that series, and that's the best ladder system that exists in one of the sports. I'll tell you, the amount of driving talent that has been built out of that's gone across the world, not just in the IndyCar series, but the world, is out of that series. Dan Anderson, he's one of the only people
Actually, him and Michelle Kish. Michelle Kish is the biggest unsung hero of MRTI, which is Dan Anderson's daughter. I mean, if you want to really know who really pulls all the strings in MRTI and really make sure everything is the way it should be, man, she's done an amazing job. I mean, Dan Anderson is using his name, his influence, and everything. That's great,
But somebody has to do the hard work, and it makes sense. I mean, It sounds a lot like Dale Jr. and his sister. His sister basically ran his career, and now he's set for life or whatever.
Yep.
Even with his dad not being there. There's different examples of that. But yeah, the IndyCar. I think this new car, I mean, it's just amazing to look at, and it looks great. Like, I forget who was the one who said it looks great when it's standing still. Like, that's when you know you have a really good-looking car, when it looks good standing still, and it does. I'm just
loving it.
Yeah, I'm just afraid. I hope that the big track package will be able to kind of put on the racing that, I mean, the Indianapolis 500 ever since 2012 is, I mean, I love IndyCar racing, but the Indianapolis 500 since 2012 has been unreal.
It really has.
And every race has come down basically to the bitter end, last few laps.
I would say the Dario Franchitti win was the last time the Indy 500 ended very boring because of that Sato move.
Yeah, it wasn't boring when Sato was trying to go and dive bomb.
You know what? Good.
Freaking turn one.
Good point. It's just because Dario Franchitti won, so I'm like,
Well, but, you don't like it because you're,
but then when I think about if I go back and think about it, you're right. It was a great race.
But, it was an amazing race. I don't know how many lead changes. I think they set a record for lead changes that day, which was broken by Antoine Kanon's win and whatever.
I mean,
with ABCDEFG Racing or whatever he ran for, and when they set the speed record for the 500 too, which was broken from Harry Lunatic in 1990. That's one of my favorite nicknames, Harry Lunatic, because he looked like a hairy lunatic, and he was, because he would always do well on the big tracks.
With that luscious hair flying into the...
Oh, yeah, that salad, that was a strong salad. And speaking of strong salad and hairy lunatic, his son's the new Bachelor, so now I might actually have to watch that garbage, because he actually he almost got married to the symmetry of that with racing is just crazy. How he was in the Bachelorette show where the girl Maynard, who was Ricky Hendrick, the son of Rick Hendrick, the late son of Rick Hendrick, she was the baby mama of his first child, and he was one of the last two people there. He could have been married to like Rick Hendrick's whatever daughter, but now he's going to get his own girl, and they're going to have like a 6-month relationship, and it'll blow up, and he'll go back to driving stadium super trucks and off-road trucks, whatever he's doing now, and combing his hair.
Now, for the people who don't know who the heck you're talking about, just throw a name out there, please.
It's Arie Luyendyk and Arie Luyendyk Jr. Arie Luyendyk, the 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner, and his son.
Salad.
Yeah, with the great salad.
Yeah.
One of the all-time great salads in the history of sport, of the world. frankly.
because I love your nicknames, but sometimes they don't make it. You know, it's very
Well, the
hard to
Hairy
connect the
Lunatic
name.
isn't mine. Some of these nicknames are not mine at all. Those
I
are
know it.
Robin
Yeah, but
Miller
you're
may have
talking
came
about a
up with it.
Robin Miller saying from 30 years ago, dog.
It's not even 30 years ago. He was from
I'm
20.
just I'm
Yeah, but I
rounding.
get it.
I'm
Yeah.
rounding. Oh no, I'm not down you for it. I love the nickname. I was just saying, throw a
Yeah.
name out there for the people out there that
Yep.
might not know what you're talking about.
May not know, for Danny because he's still looking at his Ryan Briscoe car, but whatever.
We love you, Danny.
Yeah.
I went, oh my God, Dan. That's a little inside joke, but that's what's great about this
Yeah.
show because all the great listeners that we always talk to and talk with, and happy to do it, and it's always a good bunch of fun to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
So, um, before we get too deep into IndyCar, real quick, I just want to mention that we did see Rhinus testing at the Griffith test in Indy a few weeks back. In Indy Lights, he went from USF 2000 Indy Lights. Everybody thought he was going to go to Indy Lights, but no, he got. Excuse me, hold on. Wait a minute. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Rhinus VK. Um, he was racing in an Indy Lights car in the Chris Griffith test, and he landed himself a 2018 ride in Pro Mazda. So had good on the runner-up of the USF 2000 Championship behind Oliver Askew. So Oliver is going to be dealing with Rise VK in his rearview mirrors all next year again.
So
say,
let's go and have part two. And there's
there's a couple
sometimes
part
they say
twos.
sequels aren't good, but I think this one's a good one.
Dude, and there's going to be another what's the third one? Trilogy?
Yeah.
There's going to be a trilogy with Martin and Victor Franzoni and Indy Lights this year coming up. I'm telling you. I mean, Martin will get there. Obviously, Victor Franzoni pulling out a miracle at the end there, and winning over Martin at Barber. I mean, at Watkins Glen in the rain. That was heartbreaking. Um, but hey, congratulations, Victor. But Anthony's a very good friend of the show, so we were rooting for him. We were with his family rooting for him, so it was a lot of fun. I wish it would have ended on better terms. But hey, that's racing. But he showed enough that he's not staying in Pro Mazda. He's going to Indy Lights, no doubt about it. Because during the Chris Griffith test, he tested nothing but Indy Lights. Didn't even jump in a Pro Mazda car. Parker tested Pro Mazda, but he also did test USF. So who knows? I hope he goes to Pro Mazda. The team he was racing for was the first one to buy one, so I don't know what that means. Who knows?
Yeah.
Nothing's been official yet. We had Dean Kane on, or Darren Kane on, or Darren Keene on. I'm sorry, guys. Darren Keene, who already has a USF 2000 ride Newman Mox locked up on the show last week, and then before that was Spencer Piggott. Before him was Ed Jones. Before him was Kyle Kaiser talking about his Unicross ride. And before him, we had Oliver Askew and Aaron Telitz on together. So I thought it was a good week to just calm everything down with the drivers a little bit, have Phil on, and just talk a little bit of racing. Catch everybody up with a little bit of the news that's been happening during this silly season, and change it up a little bit. You don't want to get something so repetitious or stale. And having the last couple drivers on who were making headlines, I thought was just awesome. So, okay, that's enough. Patting myself on the back. Not for nothing. I did feel really proud today because I saw Matt Archuleta. That's at Indy 44,
Uh-huh.
44, right? He tweeted that get this, Oliver Askew, somebody I don't recognize, and David Mulcher of all people were on the Kurt Cavan and the other guy. What's his name? King. Is his name
Oh,
King?
Mike King, yeah,
Um,
from the IMS Radio Network, yeah, Mike
yeah,
King.
yeah, 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 yeah. Those two, they do a radio show on an AM station there in Indianapolis, right?
Uh-huh.
And they were on the show today. But
Interesting.
hey, I mean, Oliver's been on our show like 6 times. David Mulcher, one of my most proudest interviews I've ever done, was me and David Mulcher back during our 100th show anniversary. So, just want to say I beat you guys to it. And Oliver's not your friend; he's ours. So, moving
Yeah.
on. But I was just proud. You know what I mean? I'm like, look at that. We had them on our show first. So, anyway, beat you, Calvin. Anyway, my point being is, I like Calvin. He's a good dude, and King. I've never talked to either one of them. What am I saying? It's just because I'm in the media center doesn't mean I talk to every single person sitting down. But David Mulster, on the other hand, you know, we're smoking buddies. Yep.
Nice. Nice.
Hell yeah. You know, when it was Mulcher, me and Missy, right? And we're at Pocono and we're watching Will do that, dive all the way down, and we thought there was something wrong, but he was just doing some great racecraft to stay in the lead at Pocono, you know? Because let me tell you something, the draft off of 2 into 3, if you don't protect the bottom line, man, you're screwed. But if you go into 3 on the bottom line, you're also screwed on the entrance. So, you know, that was beautiful what he did. He put on a clinic, didn't he?
Yeah, that was definitely his craft, his racecraft. Williams on big ovals has been.
Where to
I
come
mean,
from, I don't
that
know.
was, yeah. I mean, the fact is, his ability. That was about the only thing that was missing. I mean, his oval
Hey,
craft in general.
can I just say, I'm sorry, Phil. I don't mean to cut you off. Really, I don't. But I have to do this for a buddy of mine, Sergio, down in Colombia. The dude can draw like you never seen. Awesome, awesome drawings of Indy cars and everything. I asked him to draw me a picture of Will's move, right?
Hmm.
Inside off of turn 2.
Yeah.
He found the picture. He drew it perfectly, dude. Looked great, right? He sells them. He's on Facebook. Friend him. It's Sergio. Hold on, let me get it because he deserves a nice plug. I'm telling you, the dude is a really nice dude from Colombia. So you know, help the man out. I mean, if anybody wants a copied print of it, it's literally $20, guys. You know, that's all you got to pay, $20. It's not that much money, and you'll get a great freaking picture from him. I'm telling you, he'll frame whatever. So. And I just want to give you his name real quick so you can find him on Facebook. Send him a friend request. I mean, if you have any idea of your favorite moment of any type of racing, you can send it to him. He'll draw it, and it'll look great. So, Sergio, here's your plug, buddy. I didn't tell you I'd do this, but you deserve it, brother. If you search Sergio Bella Rincon, I don't know. RINCO with the thing above it, like it looks like
Thing
with like a Indian head, you know,
with
with a
an
feather,
Indian head. Nice. Yeah.
you know, round with the one with feather. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, scalping people. And then
Nice.
yeah,
Wow.
it's not racist, trust me. And then you're not Indian, are you?
I'm not
No,
an
you're
American Indian.
no,
Yeah.
you're Asian. I forgot.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. You I thought you were black. I'm sorry. All right, moving on.
uh,
At
uh,
the end, yeah, it's
Rincon.
RINCO with the feather on it, and so there you go. So find Sergio, tell him we sent you over there, and that you want a drawing. So draw it and send it to me. Chop chop. He'll be happy to do it. Trust me.
Yeah.
And he'll send you a bunch of really good, hip hop that I never. Dude, he sent me a YouTube video from Arsenio Hall. Dude, we're talking Wu Tang Clan. We're talking. I mean, there was so many people on stage. Do you remember this?
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember this Arsenio Hall show. Yeah, I do.
No,
But
but I mean,
not that.
dude, it had to have been 30 people up there. That it was before they were huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Method Man was there, Redman was there, obviously Wu Tang, because I mean, and there was a lot of others that I recognized, but not, I don't know their names already off the top of my head. Um, freaking, I did recognize, I recognized Onyx, I recognized, um, who sang Renee? Or
I don't
who?
know offhand.
Lost Boys. That's it. Lost Boys were
Mm.
there. I mean, it was literally like the changing of the tide of hip hop, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah,
had a few old school guys, and you could tell, and then you had the new school guy. Like our generation, and you could tell like the change happened, and it happened on our show. I'll send you the YouTube. Um, I will retweet the YouTube on my Twitter at it's at links LLNKZ. All the rest of our social media stuff where you keeps you up to date of all the racing, MRTI, IndyCar. If sports car, if it's a sports car story I care about, whatever. uh, and Formula One. So you go to www.theindysportscarpodcast.com. And Phil, if they want to follow you, brother, where can they find you?
at Philip G Matthew on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well. I have a blog, the Unfiltered blog with a P on capital U, lowercase n, capital P, HILTERED, which I'm probably going to get back to here because I'm fed up. There's been plenty of things that have been going on that I need to start writing again, so I need to do it just for my own health. So probably look for that. Definitely as the season comes on next year, I'll be more in tune, covering the sport again the way I want to.
Right on. We'll definitely plug it for you too, man. So I just want to get that out of the way because I suck at doing that for people. There's been a
Oh,
few
that's cool.
drivers where there's been a few drivers we've had on where good luck trying to find them because you're not going to hear it on this show
Yeah.
because it just happens. We talk,
Yeah.
we get off, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to plug what he does. So anyway, it's happened. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So I like to try
Yeah.
to get it out of the way. All right. So let's move on to okay. So like I said, VK went to Pro Mazda, right?
Mhm.
Now, let's see. Hold on a second here. Mazda Road to any scholarship judges announced. Okay, this hasn't happened yet. This is how Askew got into USF 2000 last year. Um, Scott Goodyear is one of the announcers. Might as well. He's got nothing better to do. How's that pink slip look? You freaking
God,
bum.
who's going to announce the Indianapolis 500 next year? It's scary to think
It's
of.
ESPN. See, but here's the thing, dude. Or no, is it ABC again? It's got to
Yeah,
be,
it's
right?
ABC next year, yeah, for one more year, but they're probably
Oh, they're
gonna,
doing it one more time?
yeah.
Oh God.
So it's gonna be like Todd Harris again going in.
Is it only the Indy, or are they going to do,
No, it's gonna be the
Indy
same
and
thing
Long
as it
Beach
was
and
last year,
oh
where
God.
they'll have the month of May, and then they'll have, I guess St. Pete. It'll be like five. You're missing. You're missing. At Links going in this, like choking on his microphone, thinking about how bad those five races are going to be because
That's what I want to do. Choke on it. Never mind. Moving on.
that's how
Because
I feel too. Because
yeah,
listening
I'd
to
rather
that
do that.
announcing, listening to them, listening to most of the people on that telecast is really bad. I mean, I'm a mark for Alan Bestwick. We can go and have discussions about Alan Bestwick, uh, about his general. Okay, maybe he doesn't fit IndyCar. Well, no
Well, if
crap.
you want to
No,
have
no.
this discussion, Phil, you can go to our Facebook page, and I have a group set up. It's called is it 2018 yet? Right?
Yeah,
And you can go there, dude. Post that up, and I'm sure you know we have conversations galore on the. Well, not really galore, one or two,
but
but hey, that's cool. You got to start off somewhere. It was just
yeah,
something I just made up on the fly anyway. But
yeah,
hey, people join it. They like it. They when stuff happens, we come together. We talk about it, yell at each other. Make fun of each other. Danny's clueless most of the time, but it's okay. We love him. Um, and if there's someone schmarmy, we attack them.
Exactly.
So don't be schmarmy.
Yes.
And Dan, we love you. So hey, there you go.
Yeah.
I will boot you right out of. I've never booted anybody actually, but I am a moderator for my buddy Hamby, William Hamby, who does 1911 to present open wheel forum, right?
Okay.
It's a really big. A lot of people are part of it. It's a really good IndyCar forum. If you're an IndyCar fan, head over to Facebook, check out that group. 1911 to present open wheel. It's a really good site. It's been around forever. Whoa, it's William Hamby, so check it out. But if you're gonna be a D, me personally will boot you right out of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a moderator, baby.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, dude, I feel privileged, I mean, I respect Hamby a lot, He's been in the game 10 freaking, like, ever since Facebook was around, he's been doing this thing. So,
Yeah.
hey, Anyway, all right, so Pro Mazda, dude, I can't wait to see the new cars in Pro Mazda. I'm going to miss the rotary sound, but I can't wait to hear what the USF 2000 engine sounds like with 100 more horsepower. So who knows? Maybe it'll sound cool, or maybe it'll sound like the Indy Lights did, and I'll have to run for the hills. I don't know yet, but the car looks great.
Yeah, the car looks good, and hopefully the bigger motor's definitely
It's
a
not
positive because it'll help with the transition. It'll do with the transition for the drivers. I mean, they're already talented. We get it, the vast majority of them. But it's a case of going and giving them a platform that the transition to the IndyCar isn't as hard or as tough or whatever you want to call it. I mean,
you can
and
tell
great
that
racing.
the levels get harder and harder. It's obvious.
Yeah,
it's going to be
and
even more
great
obvious now.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. It's going to promote some great racing because we got some great racers in MRTI, dude. It is insane the talent pool that's in MRTI right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Adrian on this very show, probably last off season, saying that the 2016 USF 2000 class was going to be something special, and a lot of good drivers are going to come out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he was dead on because they're all going off to bigger and better things. But the past year, I would say the top 5 finishers of USF 2000, all 5 of them belong in Pro Mazda as far as I'm concerned. I mean, what Parker Thompson was able to do with a brand new team, I mean, that's unheard of. And to beat Cape and to beat, Pelfrey and all the other cars, Carlin wasn't there, I don't know why. But my point being is like,
now he's going back to F2 along with his probably going to IndyCar. He'll also be in F2. So.
You think Cameron Doss will go to F2 in his car? You think?
No, he already announced his drivers. He has George Russell, what is it?
Man, I'm informed.
He has the Mercedes protege, one of the Mercedes driver rookie, and then they have some money guy, like a Spanish money guy or Brazilian money guy or something, coming in to be in the second car. That's what I forget the names offhand, but I think it's George Russell or mixing up the Brits, whatever. There's only one Brit that really matters, and his name is Lewis Hamilton. But
well, not
in Formula One.
A lot of Brits do not like him, actually.
Oh, of course, but that's fine.
But except for our friends at the NRF1 podcast, they love him. They bleed LNH.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go and scream bloody murder about people talking. Like, you know what? It is what it is. He's not your cup of tea. Good, whatever. You can't deny the driving ability, and you can't deny what he's done. So
Lewis
you could say,
Hamilton to Formula One is Tiger Woods 10 years ago to golf. I don't know who golfs now. I know Tiger does,
well,
but he
Tiger
sucks.
Woods is about to come back tomorrow, but that's a great segue. That he's coming back tomorrow.
No,
for his first
no, there's
time
no
in
segue
months.
to golf. No
Yeah.
segue to golf.
You made a Tiger Woods reference, but
Well, they
but
look
yeah,
alike. Oh, no,
the,
that's not racist either.
but yeah, he'll be playing tomorrow at his tournament. But the Lewis is and you could go and turn it to like Bubba Wallace with his coming up to the Cup Series next year with the great situation we have in our country now with minorities, but we'll see how that works out for him. But
Wait, what?
no, the whole thing because it's an African American driver going and driving a NASCAR, and then
There is?
yeah,
What's his
Bubba
name?
Wallace,
Who?
Darrell Wallace Jr. He drives for Richard Petty in the 43 cars. They're starting next year.
Richard Petty hired him?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
He's
so
got to be good.
I'd hope so. They haven't really been a contender in many years, so hopefully he'll give them, he'll go and give them a chance.
Well, I mean, Willie T. Ribbs, what, 2000, was it 2001, 2003? He raced Indy 500, right?
Well, Willie T. Ribbs ran in Trans Am back in the day and sports cars and all that. And then in the 80s, he ran NASCAR for a little bit.
Yep.
Then he ran in Indy in 91, and he was in the IndyCar series from like 92 through 90, or like from 1990 through 94, flamed out. And then went away for a while, drove for Dodge and trucks in the early 2000s, like around 2001, and then disappeared again. He's a champion shooter, a trap shooter, or skeet shooter, or I forget what.
Really?
Him and his son are into that. That's and supposedly I saw this story a while back that it was Al Unser Jr., Willie T. Ribbs, and I think Johnny Unser all are joining together to run a Trans Am 2 car, a TA2 car. I don't know if that came off this year, if they're going to do it next year or what.
Really?
That was supposed to be a thing, the three of them together as a team, and they were going to go and run a couple of cars, which, I mean, when you talk about Al Unser Jr.
The TA2 class in Trans Am's awesome. Not for nothing.
Well, the TA2 class in Trans Am should be the Trans Am
#1
class.
Yeah, exactly. Do away with TA. Please, do away with TA. It's not interesting. I don't care. There's no competition. It's the guy with the most money. He wins. I don't care. Get him off the track.
I mean, I'm a fan of Amy Ruman, and I have a lot of respect for her because she's a real woman racer. And she's made it, based on actual talent and actually being able to drive, and she's a champion, which can get me off on a tangent all in itself. But the other than her and a couple other people that have been able to move up to the class that are guys that had won in the TA2 class, like Cam Lawrence, a couple other guys, that class went away. We could go all the way back to when Tommy Kendall was in his heyday. Like, it died when the factories left. Basically that's when it went.
Down to 3, right? Yeah.
I mean, they didn't when Ford bailed. That was the end of it because Chevy didn't support it anymore, and then Dodge had bailed out of Trans Am back in '93. So,
but
Dodge
Ford's
has
back.
Well, Ford
Chevy's
is
back.
In terms of what they have for the TA2 class, yeah, they have mostly it's a Camaro class, and there are some Ford.
And Dodge.
Yeah, they had a Dodge factory effort, and Tommy Kendall actually made it. Him and Cam Lawrence were teammates, but now they don't.
And don't forget Jordan Bernlower. He was racing one.
You know, the Adam Andretti was driving one for a couple of times too. So
Why don't we get him into IndyCar? He's got to be better than Marco.
He's older. He's
Andretti.
I mean, the fact if you're gonna have an Andretti, it's Jarrett who drives the sprint
get him
car.
in there.
Get a sprint car. Yeah, he drives a sprint car for his uncle, Michael, and
I am ready for a new, younger Andretti to take.
Oh, you mean one that can actually drive? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's okay. He sucks.
I mean, God love him. He spends his time at the Playboy Mansion. It's fine, you know. It's okay. You spend your time with your wife at the Playboy Mansion, and your dad's married to a Playboy Playmate. I get it, you know. It's because of him and that Tony Stewart's getting married to, is engaged to a Playboy. It's probably because of him. He's a better matchmaker than he is a race car driver. Good for Marco. But yeah, there needs to be.
Marco's a giver.
Yeah, he gives away plenty of spots because he sucks driving a race car.
He can't, his qualifying, I'll give him this. His qualifying's got a lot better. He does finish a lot higher out of the cars that don't make it past Q1.
But the point is, you're in an Andretti Autosport car, and you're not even able to make
a
that
crap
Q1.
Compliment, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13, woo!
Yeah.
Road 7, yay!
And you have to do the alternate strategy that never is going to work.
Unless you're Danica in Japan.
Oh God, no! Please don't.
She won.
Aren't you happy? Well, yeah. Well,
don't you say it? Don't you say it? Don't you say it? I know I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And tell me who she's going to drive for. Chip said no.
Oh, so Cheap said no too?
Yeah.
If Cheap said no, then who the heck is she going to drive for?
That's what I keep saying. There's such a shortage of engines. There's not a shortage of chassis, but there's a shortage of teams with engine leases. You know what I'm saying? Where's she getting, unless it becomes Team Patrick, she ain't racing. I want to race in the Indy 500 too, don't you?
Well, yeah. Well, Michael Shank wanted to race in the Indy. Michael Shank wanted to race in the Indy 500 a couple of years ago, and when they told him, you have to take the Lotus Lug and run that, and you'll be 40 miles an hour off the pace. He's like, oh, I'll go and I'll bail out it. Oh, he's shaking it off. What's wrong with that?
Look, you cannot just step your foot into the party and expect to get the hottest chick right off the bat. You got to pay your dues, man. Yeah. Sorry, Shank.
I mean, granted, I get that, but you have to understand that engine.
This is hindsight being 2020. We didn't know the Lotus was going to be that much of a dud.
Well, they did know that the Lotus was a dud because they were the slowest car at every race before that, and then once they went
bankrupt 2 months before.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the reality is, I don't blame the people who actually worked on the engines. They had no chance. It's just the fact that it all worked out the way it did in the media spotlight. But either way, Shank, we'll see what goes on with that and all the teams and all that. I mean, he announced it looks like he's going to run a NSX at the Rolex this year, and not a factory effort, of course, because Acura has gone with Team Penske up to the prototype class. Mazda just
why did Mazda they do
team
that?
Because it's Team Penske.
Why didn't they go Cadillac?
Why would they go Cadillac when they already have 3 of them out there? That's
because they're a GM squad.
Roger Penske is a billionaire because he works for different people. He's worked when he was back in sports cars last time. He was in Porsche. He was a Porsche team. Now he's with Acura.
He did race Hondas.
He ran Hondas for years in IndyCar. When his team was in the dump, he went and got the same package everybody else had and started winning everything again. And then he ran with Honda. and he runs a Ford team in NASCAR and in Australian supercars, and they got screwed. But
Did he
that's
have to goddamn rip Elio out to put him in there? It's so disrespectful. You know what?
it's not even about Elio ripping Elio out. I have my view of
What is your view?
Elio where he was at that point in his career. I mean, I'll say this. If you're going to tell me that Elio Castroneves is a full-time sports car driver and Tony Kanaan's a full-time IndyCar driver, granted where he is, it makes no sense. The reality is Elio is a much better driver than Tony Kanaan, bar none right now and in general. That's been proven based on record and all kinds of things, minus the one championship.
Right.
But I'll take, at the end of the day, I'll take 3 Borg Warner trophies over one Earl championship any day.
Especially when you were a rookie the first time you won it.
Well, the first time it was a rookie. The second time it was Paul Tracy, but they gave it to Elio. And then the third time he came back from not paying his taxes, and he won that one.
I know.
And then I mean, the funny part is, and then thank
God, thank you, Elio, because that brought Will in.
Yeah, that brought your
just go on, just move on.
But anyway, the thing with Elio not being in a full-time IndyCar relative to somebody like, Tony Kanaan or his new teammate or, some of these other guys that are going to actually have full-time rides is sad and pathetic. But the good thing is he will get to run Indy. He might be able to pull off an Al Unser 1987 kind of move.
1992. Is what I'm saying. And Al Unser Al Unser. I'm sorry.
Al Unser Senior.
Okay.
Al Unser Senior, 1987, when he and when he came in. Yeah.
The old man comes back and wins one. Yep.
Yeah, when he came back in a show car after Danny on Guy's
to do it.
He got past Roberto Guerrero's stall, the Granatelli car, in the pits while he was leading and trying to get gas, and Al Unser won that race, and off the bench, and so I mean he could do that. I wouldn't put it past him, but I also think that there's a lot of good mojo going on with that effort. The drivers all seem to be getting along. The regular 4 all seem to be getting on really well, which is Juan Pablo Montoya,
JP, J NASCAR, M NASCAR, whatever NASCAR,
M NASCAR.
Hey,
But
there you go, Jay Shep. You actually contributed something to this freaking show. There you go.
Yeah, but ever since
it's only been a year and a half. Go ahead.
But he's won another.
I'm not bitter.
I can't tell. Juan Pablo is there, and he's fast, and he's really comfortable, and he's feeling good.
I really cannot. I cannot do his voice. Ugh.
I love the Texo-Havlian Dutch.
Higher pitch.
I can't do that.
I'm a higher pitch with a lisp.
No. He doesn't really have a lisp. I don't think so.
No, you know what? I was talking to, believe it or not, Sergio from Colombia, because that's where, JPM's from. And he was telling me how he talks and sounds just like JPM. That's like an actual, like the dialect there. And I asked him, do you have a little bit of a lisp only when you speak English because it's not your primary language and all? He goes, how'd you know that? And I'm like, JPM. I said so
because Carlos Munoz has it too.
I know Carlos Montoya. Anyway, my point being is, he's like, no, when he talks in Colombian, you will never hear lisp.
Yeah.
So I actually went on YouTube and listened to him talk in Colombian. Yeah, he was right.
Yeah.
So I knew it. It was just a language thing.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, you have to consider with JPM, I remember watching him back in the Barber Saab days back in 1993, running against Jerry Nadeau, who became a NASCAR driver and won a NASCAR race. And there are other guys that went different places, but I'm like, who the heck is this guy? Where did
I
he
know,
come
dude.
from? And
Dude,
then and then five
in
years later, he's winning
1983,
the
yeah,
IndyCar championship. So,
I'll,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
and then he went to F1 and a couple of years later, and then the rest is history in terms of his Formula One career, and then
Which
being a
was very
sports car.
interesting to watch, actually.
Yeah, I mean he came to America, did work in America very young, then came back when he was a little bit older, did work, then went away, came back again. NASCAR was minute, but if he had the kind of cars that Kyle Larson has, I'm pretty sure
Drove
he'd be.
into a hairdryer.
Yeah, well, yeah, that helps when your whole left rear when the rear end breaks on your car. That also helps.
Is that
But
what happened?
uh, the
No,
whole rear
seriously.
end,
I'm asking you, was that the story? Is that
yeah,
what
the
happened?
whole rear end failed. Like the rear end fell out of it. His car
During a
turned
pace
right.
lap?
Yeah, when he was hustling back to get back under yellow. It was because he was trying to catch up to the back of the field, and like the rear end just came out of it, and he turned right into the jet dryer.
That was a spectacular fireball, by the way.
Yeah. It made the race. That was the most interesting thing that had happened in that race up to that point, quite frankly.
Back up.
Was him
That's about the
hitting.
most interesting thing that's happened in NASCAR in the last 20 years, quite frankly.
Well, that's for you, but
Yes, there is.
but there's
That
been
there's in my head it goes from Earnhardt spinning Rusty Wallace out last lap Talladega. Earnhardt wins. Rusty finishes third on his nose going across the finish line
no
in
Earnhardt
the
didn't
infield.
win. Ernie Irvan won that race, and I know that because Ernie was one of my drivers. Then
Well,
Earnhardt
Rusty
thought
was
he killed a
mine.
guy. Rusty finished, I think, in the top. I don't know where he finished, like six, whatever he did. He thought he killed him, so he came back the next lap around to go and check to make sure he didn't kill him. Then when he's walking or flailing around his stupid arms because he's Rusty Wallace and he's all
Oh,
arms.
whoa, back up, back up. The man was just taken out and almost killed, so he had a chance. He was totally justified in being a bit upset.
Well,
Okay.
no, he was because he's all arms, like he's Rusty Wallace. He talks with his arms and
I
says a
talk with
bunch
my
of
hands. You
nonsense.
got a problem with that?
No, but
Okay.
it's just Rusty Wallace. It's I don't know. I just don't
I
like
know.
Rusty.
Thank you for Iowa, Rusty. Keep,
That is
keep,
about the only thing he's ever done that has actually been good for racing. Is that I'll give him
and
that.
me, by the way, and me. I love that track.
Yeah, Iowa Speedway. I'm a mark for that place for sure.
Dude, you got to get there. You got to get there. I cannot stress you enough. The facility is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. The track's amazing. Iowa is the quintessential central perfect, 7/8 to a mile short track for IndyCar. It's perfect
Oh, it's
for
a
that.
perfect track for IndyCar because it gives you super speedway characteristics. It gives you short track characteristics. It gives you every
Yep.
aspect of an oval that you want.
They're
And
hitting 195 for crying out loud in 7/8 mile. You kidding me?
that's, I mean, and that's a level of stuck that like when they say you're stuck, like that's a level of stuck that I don't know how the heck you can. That's a 10 out of body experience times 8 million or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like
and
that
if
and
you get out of the
that being
groove
in a
just a
top
little
fuel
bit,
dragster. Yeah.
dude, you can be leading the race. You get out of the groove a little bit, you
Oh, you're
put a
right
wheel
there.
wrong a little bit, you're 15th. You get
Yeah.
trained, you know?
Or you wipe out. I mean, that's another thing because of how the tight the groove is when you get into. I mean, the way that JNU does business there. I mean, he has his own line, I think, around there, which is why he's
Dude,
able to do so well there.
they're consistently doing 2.5 to 3.5 Gs the entire freaking track, the
Yeah,
entire race.
for
It's
for
insane.
250 laps. I mean,
I know.
basically 2 hours you're doing that at 3 Gs. People want to understand about how are these guys are these people athletes or just driving? That's there.
Dude, I'm
Talk
telling you.
about.
Now, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it won't be relevant in like about 14 sentences. So, when we were at Iowa the last 2 years, right? Missy went into the Corvette. I was in the Camaro. This year around, it just said GM. I don't know, but they were fast, right?
Yeah.
I think we topped to 130, and I was plastered against the door. Okay,
Yeah.
I could not. I tried when she was in the turn. I could not get into the center of the seat. I couldn't. I mean, I'm just against the freaking door. So these guys, I never experienced G's like that on this track, man. And that was what went 130. I can't imagine 60 more miles per hour, and trying to, make. That's why they're athletes. You know what I mean?
Couple thousand more pounds of downforce also helps with that, but
True.
yeah,
True.
and
you
but
are
the,
in the
I
center
get
seat.
what you're saying because I had that experience when I was at Pocono, and it was Martin Plowman drove us around in a Chevy SS,
At
and
Flowey?
yeah, and he went and drove in a turn one at Pocono, which is a well-renowned corner. I mean, all those corners have history in their own way because of where they came from and whatever. And he's driving about 140 or whatever it is, and he's sitting there. He's going through the center of one, and he's holding the steering wheel with one hand in his left hand, and he's going and talking about, oh, this is where the groove is with his right hand, and doing all this. And I'm like, okay, I love motorsports. It's been my life since I was 7. But this dude is sitting here at 140 miles an hour, whatever it is, driving with one hand in a corner with 3 other passengers, like it's whatever. And then he went and he almost tried to do a one-hander through the tunnel. I almost crapped, and I
That's
realized
flat out.
yeah, and I basically realized after that lap that I have no business ever trying to run a real legitimate race car. I could probably run like the Le Mans or whatever, the one where they take
The
hoopties and
lemons.
yeah, they go and run hoopties or whatever, and
Or you can do the vintage where they go, really slow around there.
yeah, well, I wouldn't be able to do that.
See, Indy needs a support series to back them up at Pocono, I think. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the attendance has been good every year. It's been almost doubling. You can tell by, race day, you look out in the paddock and you see how many people are there. Because, I mean, the stands are a mile freaking long almost, okay?
Yeah.
And they're very tall.
Oh yeah.
It seats, I think, 350,000 or something like that. It's insane.
No, that's Pocono seats a good 80 to 100.
No,
they
it's more than that.
no. That's 80 to 100 because I was having this conversation with one of my good friends, Randy. Who
It just
we
feels
go and,
like it could seat more.
Yeah, we go to Pocono. We try to make as many of those races as we can. We haven't been able to make the last couple of IndyCar events. We went, a couple of years ago, but the reality is that grandstand, no matter no optic you're going to be able to take of that is going to make it look good.
No,
Because it's so expansive and it's one large grandstand. Like Daytona has done this because they wanted to limit the fact that they couldn't sell out the Daytona 500, and they went. And it's the same thing with Indy when it comes, especially with NASCAR. Not as much with the 500
don't need
anymore. It's getting back to what it used to be.
That's what I love about
But
it.
there's
It's slowly
swaths-
climbing.
There's swaths of seats in between turns 1 and 2, the going into turn 3, in between 3 and 4, where there's empty seats, and they're putting out the crap banners to go and cover up for empty seats. The Pocono would need to do something like that, but they're not going to do that. It is what it is. The attendance at Pocono in general is better than a lot of circuits, period.
No kidding.
And especially for the ovals. And because
76,812 to be exact during the front stretch.
So 70, yeah. So I say like 80 down. So the point
Good
is,
job,
and they've
Phil.
taken away seats, and there's never going to be even in the heyday of freaking IndyCar back in the 80s when they ran there, and it was basically an off-road track, and they were running 500 miles there. They didn't have 80,000 seats back then. I think they may have had 50 or 60, and I don't even think they were full then completely. There was mostly.
the seat and the stands didn't go all the way to into turn one back then. By the way,
Yeah, I mean
they were wooden bleachers.
yeah, they have the seats going probably to the wall where the pit wall was, and that was shorter than what it is now. And it goes farther down now than it did back before they were the last time they were running there. Oh, and add the fact that you had Michael and Mario back then, and John.
Oh, and Bobby Ray Hall, and Anselmo Jr. And
Yeah, all these. So you had
Paul Tracy, and
well, no, not back in the '80s when they were.
I'm sorry.
You had
there was
the
a bunch of
Andretti's,
Unzers
you had the
running around.
Unzers, you had Ray Hall, you had Harry Lunatic, you had all these people. I mean, you had Mears, you had Sullivan, Fittipaldi, and you had all those names. There was something flashy about it. The track wasn't like, if they had those guys with what the track is now, I can only imagine how great it would be. But we do have that now because we have great ride drivers now too.
Hence why Danica had to go.
Yeah. If she tried to make an attempt, which is cute, that whole Crimea River feel sorry for me press conference that she yelled at Homestead was cute.
It was adorable.
I could say other things. And I can't because it's a clean podcast. But the reality is she doesn't have a ride, and she won't, and she could probably be a part of the support series if she decides to at Pocono, like the GRC or Stadium Super Trucks. That's what I heard. That's what Randy and I were talking about. Is like, that might be a thing. And I don't know if it isn't a thing. Well, I'm putting it out there. Let's have GRC on the front stretch, or we have Stadium Super Trucks running in and out of the pit, one side of the pits, doing jumps, doing nonsense, and then you have that as a feeder series, because Monster Energy goes and takes those trucks and they do that on the outside. Go and do it on the inside. Yep. Go and have races. Go and have GRC. Have jumps, temporary jumps. They did it in New Hampshire. So why can't they, when they had Indy cars there, I think too, they could do it.
St. Pete.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the thing you can do, and it would actually make a lot of sense. The true reality is they should run in concert with IMSA, and IMSA runs the road course, and IndyCar runs a 400 or 500 miler on the oval. That would be a Saturday enduro into a Sunday 500 miler. That would be the.
It would actually be great to see a Pocono become a Roval for IMSA.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, they have a really good quality infield road course that was used back in the day, and they use it for different.
Those like V buggies, yeah.
I mean, they used to run the IMSA series in there, and they used a lot of the oval. They went backwards through turn one. They went the other way through turn one, which is cool. And which is kind of like what Indianapolis was, with the Formula One.
And Indy now, but they cut out turn one.
Yeah,
which I really wish they would take that little chicane out of turn one.
Oh, that chicane was horrible. Oh.
Yeah, they need to take it out.
I would definitely give a lot to see them running flat out through turn. I know I get it's sacrilege. The point is, it's sacrilege enough that you're running in the month of May at Indianapolis, and it's not on the oval only. And amongst the other things that Tony George has done to destroy American Open Road Racing, but that's beside the point. Just run the frickin' track the way it's meant to be. You made those couple of alterations in the infield that were necessary. It's opened up the track, made it better. Go and run through Indy turn one, full force, and make them have to go balls to the wall, braking in a turn one in that chicane.
Yeah.
Like at 215 miles an hour, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And make them have a choice. It's a nut up moment. You're either gonna give up this spot, or you're gonna make a spot. You're gonna dive bomb from 400 yards back, whatever. You're gonna have to make a call. Yeah, that was legitimately the only passing zone during the Formula One days was there.
Yeah.
Now, at least with push to pass and all these other things they have, at least they made that little section on the backside workable. So they have two, but it's still a crappy track.
Remember that Rossi made that move on Will, totally faked him out, and Will ended up in the grass.
Yeah,
that was kind of embarrassing.
It happened. Hey, even the best.
It was great racing. It was great racing.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, great move by Rossi.
Which that's one thing. Like we talk about, having a support series and having certain drivers, and that's, to me, hopefully I'll be able to come on before the season. I mean, there's plenty of months to go before the season starts.
Weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rossi stands a very good shot. I mean, I know there's been some changes with his team and leadership and whatever. I don't know. There's been some changes with that 98 car, but he's a threat, and I mean, he's a real threat to, and it's sad they got rid of Watkins Glen. It's really bad, but
I cannot stand freaking. I can't stand when the weather's bad and they have poor attendance. They pull right out. I can't stand it. They need to go back to New Hampshire, try it again. Hopefully it's not raining. They'll have a great race. I mean, even when it was raining, it was entertaining. Come on. I mean,
well, yeah, because your buddy flipped off Brian Barnhart, which was great. Which that's another story that came out today.
And Danica caused the whole freaking pile up to begin with.
Yeah.
And Tony Kanaan took out a porta potty on the backstretch. Come on.
Yeah, that is true. That is right. I forgot about that. Graham was the fastest, and he went and wrecked like 10 laps into the race, which isn't like unusual for him back in those days.
Graham and Marco were neck and neck, and all of a sudden Graham just got it one day. I don't know what happened.
It's called banging Courtney Force. But anyway,
moving on. Yeah, confidence.
Yeah, but they.
How do you think he feels now that she won a championship before he did?
It wasn't her; it was her sister.
Oh, I can't get those.
Yeah.
Ones apart.
It was Brittany. Brittany won the Top Fuel Championship, but I mean, whatever. At least Graham knows that worst case he'll be able to clean parts for John Force Racing. If it all.
Funny car.
No, his John Force Racing runs both Top Fuel and. Funny car.
Does he really?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Brittany runs the Monster Energy car, and she won the Top Fuel Championship.
I just heard a championship in Force, and I figured it was there. So I don't watch drag racing anymore. Sorry.
I love drag racing. It's great. It's
I like going to English Town. English Town's awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you
really want to go Reading, Reading's man, because they can go like 340 miles an hour in there. And it's in the middle of frickin' nowhere. It's up the hill in Bumble F, Pennsylvania. You have to go up some hills and you have to wonder, and then you get up there and it's like, oh my god, it's like all the videos that I've seen on YouTube. It looks exactly the same, and they run faster and faster every year. It's crazy, but yeah.
Pretty soon they went from quarter mile to eighth. It's going to be like I don't know, a 16th of a mile. It's just going to be the launch pad.
Well, yeah, it's going to be. They went to 1,000 feet, and I don't know where it can really go from there. I don't think it's for NHRA. It's probably going to stay that way. In Australia, they went to 1,000 feet this year because they were going to lose one of their major. They were going to lose one of their major owners if they hadn't. So.
Yeah, really.
But.
Okay. So, we kind of went off left field here. Way off topic radio on IZP, guys. No, I'm kidding. So anyway, where were we in IndyCar actually?
I think we were talking about Alio, and then we were talking about Penske, and we were talking about sport. It started like
it jumped all over the place.
Yeah, it jumped all over the place. I mean, I think we were talking about the car. We were talking about the car and how competitive it'll be, and engine. I think something about Danica also came up in that whole deal. Right. Yeah, because I think it started.
But not to worry, race fans. If she, no matter what happens this year, Next year, commentator. Did you hear that?
Um, 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 um.
Oh
That'll
my.
be the best game. That'll be the best game for for all the awful Fox broadcasts. They're already bad to begin with, but once she
Well, it'll be
joins
for
them,
NBC.
no, it won't be for NBC. They just
That's what
hired
she
June.
said.
Yeah, she believes that she can believe. She believes a lot of things. She just said she had a ride for Daytona and Indy. She has nothing.
No,
So
nothing.
she's not going. She's going to Fox because they hired dolts. So they'll go and hire her. Then she'll go and the counter will be on the side, and then every person who drinks every time she says there's gonna be more deaths related to NASCAR fans than ever before, and they'll be like, "Oh,
See,
what's going on? This is huge."
This is what drives me nuts, Phil. IndyCar breaking news around the 11th, right? Danica finishing career in Indy 500 is fitting, says IMS. How about Elio? How about Elio coming back to Indy so he can get a proper freaking send off from the IndyCar fans because he didn't get that. He didn't get a Mazda send off, did he? He didn't get that. He deserves it.
Well, the Massa send off was a joke because he had to come back after they gave up Valtteri Bottas, and they're like, Felipe, will you come back?
Well,
Sure.
well,
Like that wasn't even they gave him his car, he gave it back, now he gave him his car back again.
Look,
Stupid.
he had to go back up there because everybody was getting robbed and trying to be robbed as they're leaving the freaking circuit.
Well, no, that's the Brazilian Grand Prix has been that way for years. Ever since it's been that way. That has nothing to do with Massa itself. I'm talking about Massa gave up his ride because they were going to force him out, or he quit or whatever, because they told him to. And then once they lost Bottas, they had to bring him back, and then I'll come back. They could have found a driver.
Is this like a Favre thing with him?
Yeah, it was no. Mark Martin is the Brett Favre of motorsports, but that's the whole point. He came back. It was because their sponsor Martini is. You need to have somebody who's of age, because that goofy-looking guy Stroll is not of age, so it makes of age in America at least to drink and all that. So they needed to have somebody who's an adult. Hence, why they're going to put Robert Kubica in that car.
Which, not for nothing, I'm not complaining.
I mean, I hope that's what it is. If it isn't him, it's a money grab. Because one of them's a Russian guy, so that's a money grab. If it's the either of the other two options, it makes no sense. That's the one option.
Everything in F1's money grab, dude. I mean,
not really. Not exactly. Not exactly. Van Dorn was a junior driver.
The drivers don't even make a dent in the budget of an F1 team, right?
Theoretically, yeah, not really. I mean, I think Lewis is at 50 mil, I think,
45.
Or 45, which when you consider Schumacher back in his heyday was pulling 100.
I know. But
so
Lewis 45, and altogether with sponsorship and everything, I think it's like 250.
Yeah. Because he's got personal services deals on his own, plus he has his contracts with all the sponsors there. So, I mean, speaking like you're talking about Formula One, I was mixing up my British drivers. George Russell is the Mercedes regular driver, but Lando Norris, who's a McLaren junior, will be joining Carlin with Sergio Sete Camara, who's a money Brazilian driver, for the GP2 F2 championship, which will also coincide with Carlin's eventual announcement of going IndyCar racing, which seems...
I can't wait to see who he picks.
I have two good ideas who those will be.
Go ahead.
It'll be Max Chilton and
Oh my
Charlie
God.
Kimball because they bring money.
Oh.
Well, okay, the Max
Santy's
Chilton
got money too, you know.
Max Chilton has a
I would take
connection
Santy
existing.
before Kimball.
Well, yeah, but Max Chilton has a connection with Carlin going back to Europe for years.
True.
Both him and his brother ran for him.
True.
The obvious Kimball thing with the diabetes.
Diabetes.
You got to take their pill for the diabetes, and then
I'm Wilford Brimley.
yeah, the guy the bouncer looks like Wilford Brimley, and the password is diabetes. The thanks.
I'll kill you.
It's what's his name, Bill Hader, doing an impression. That was funny when he was doing a Stefan impression. But I think that's the move. I mean, there's so many of these. That four-named guy, whatever his name is, the Canadian four-named guy. There's Santiago Urrutia. There's all these Indy Lights prospects.
Yeah, but they know you need all of them. You know the year, including Taste Lace. I can't believe we took him.
I can't.
I don't.
They're the worst team in IndyCar. It doesn't really matter.
Larry Foyt wanted his young buck that is going to be the face of his team, and he wanted a veteran to teach him last year. He didn't get that when he got Carlos Munoz and Daly. All right, that's a whole other thing. Now, both of them are gone, and he got his young buck, I suppose. I mean, that was his thinking going into it. I don't know. I mean, that's his words, not mine. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any. I respect Larry Foyt because for as bad of a driver as he was, he's trying to make up for that as an owner and as a team manager or whatever you want to, whatever his role is, like president, team president, whatever. But I mean, they stayed for years and years with the same two drivers, and it wasn't working with Sato and Jack Hawksworth. They should have changed it much earlier. They shouldn't have went to two cars. That's number one. But they couldn't even run one good car. Then they ran two bad cars, and then they kept the same team together for how many years? Then they're like, oh, we'll change the engineers, we'll change the drivers, we'll change engine manufacturers. None of that worked last year, except for certain moments here and there. They're like, oh, we'll just go and change all the drivers. Yeah, we'll go and change the drivers again. We'll go because Carlos Munoz has gotten the royal screw job
of all time
twice now.
Him and Tristan are in a league, all to themselves.
Yeah, Tristan Vaughty. I mean, there's a long list of guys that have gotten it in IndyCar, gotten the hard one with no lube, and those are two of them. But I give Tristan credit because of his ability to respond and come in on, no notice and jump into cars in IndyCar, but then also his sports car prowess as well, which has given him quite a lucrative career, which is the point. That's the whole. Here's the reality. It's the people that respond, like Tristan, who is one of your guys' favorites, and I've learned to watch and respect. I mean, I had respect for him when he was driving for the 55 or 70, whatever number it was when he was acting.
77.
Yeah.
Schmidt. Yeah, the orange car.
Yeah, the orange car, yeah. And he was always tough, and he always competed hard. And that's the thing. You can't ask for anything more, except for a blank check. Blank check, and it's like, okay, well, I don't have a blank check. Well, make your name in sports car racing, and who knows, maybe he becomes a prototype driver.
Here's the thing. Tristan has a full-time ride money, backing to go to Coyne this year if Coyne asks him.
That is the thing. Yeah, that ride nobody talks about.
Yeah, there's like a 6-person list for that seat. and I would say Tristan Volte and RC Enerson are 1 and 2 because they both got money to do it, and they've both raced for coin and both showed a lot of promise. You know, I think Tristan has the most experience. So if I had to choose between the two, I mean, I'm friends with both, but Tristan, I would take him over RC. I think RC should go to Ed, do the road thing for a little while, get his feet wet like Spencer did. You know what I mean? The changing of the guard is going to happen real soon because Scott's going to leave, Tony's going to leave. The list goes on and on. These guys are getting old, so
Ed's gonna have to give it up eventually too.
Yeah,
if he really wants to be serious. Really. Yeah, he really hasn't. Other than what was it? I don't know when they changed the aero package. I mean, he did qualify on pole at Indy with the new aero kit. I think the first year.
Yeah, the first year.
The first year.
Body, there wasn't any of this crap that was on it last year.
Like the last 2 years, it's been different pole winners. So there's 15 who qualified on pole, but
there's a reason for that.
Well, yeah, we can't mention that here, but but with him, I don't know. I mean, I respect what he's done. If it weren't for him and Sarah Fisher, our current IndyCar champion, wouldn't be around. He'd probably be driving something in IMSA.
Sage would be in the same car, and then Nick Tandy would be wanting to, fight one of them. Sage, idiot.
Yeah, well,
how do you get on Nick Tandy's bad side? Honestly, I mean, you have to really screw up to get on that man's bad side. Oh, come on now. Have you ever heard of Nick Tandy taking someone down and just because he's so mad? I haven't.
Well, it happened. Well, Matt Kenseth had a pretty good personality, and he handled things pretty well. And then he went out there and had roid rage and ran over Joey Logano a couple of years ago. So everybody has their day. But
yeah, but I think this was a Sage climbing to a climax of I'm going to beat this kid down.
Well, Sage just has when you consider a lot of what is said about the guy and what has been out there, it kind of comes with how he is. I also think that he's supremely talented, and if he was given an opportunity in a legitimate car, he could do something. But
I've often said, you put Daly and you put Sage, and you smash them together in one driver, you have one heck of a driver.
Yeah,
you've got experience and natural talent, and boom. But Sage has no racecraft whatsoever. He's undisciplined. He can't calm himself down. He's reckless, and that's why he's not an IndyCar. Daly just doesn't have that natural talent. Sorry, some of us weren't born to be quarterback. All right, but I love his enthusiasm. I love that he wants to be here.
Yeah, he's going to be he's going to make a good career as a sports car racer and a commentator, because he is a funny guy.
Yeah, he's got a good personality. People like him, but unfortunately, it's just not. I'm sorry. You can't do 2 seasons in IMSA with James French in PC, right? It was never a big field to begin with, and never win. And then Pato O'Ward, who has miles of talent, just like Sage, has racecraft, has discipline, all that, and they win every race but Petit Le Mans. I mean, are you kidding me? Right there, that's the gauge. Same car, same situation, same everything, same driver, same teammate. What's the difference? What's the denominator that was missing? Daly. And who was in there? Pato. Come on now. There you go.
No, I think they're both going to be teammates anyway next year. So it's
who's that?
I think Pato and Connor are going to be teammates for at least Enduros.
I don't know, man. I think Pato's coming back to Indy Lights for Pelfrey full time because of all the money he won in IMSA with the championship and everything.
Yeah, hopefully it will be good because, and then they'll just switch rides again. That's basically what it'll be. But because there's a lot of good prototype seats out there, and a lot of competitive. It's that class is growing, and then that
Yeah, but
GT.
every driver's got to pay to drive it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And he has no money, dude. Everybody out there, listen to me. Connor Daly has zero funding to race. Okay? He needs a paid seat. None exist. That coin seat is not a paid seat. It's a pay for seat. You have to bring full funding because I hate to tell you, but Coin lost a crap ton of money last year with all those accidents and everything. You know?
Well, he wasn't exactly the most well off owner to begin with, and
No,
then
he
they
went
had
all in last year.
yeah, and then he wrecked all those races. They had all those wrecks. I mean, I'll,
With
I'll
no
say,
fault of any of his drivers, by the way.
no, of course not. I mean, the
Most
vast majority.
unluckiest team in IndyCar was Coin last year.
I mean, he's had a lot of bad breaks, but last year was beyond. I mean, you win St. Pete, and you compete your points leader for first few races of the year. The thing I feel saddest for is for Seb was he was on a run to win the pole for the Indianapolis 500 possibly, and he wrecks and gets really hurt. And but the crazy thing is what's his name, Davison jumps in that car, runs halfway decent, and then Ed Jones goes and finishes third. So you think about Sebastian Bourdais, Ed Jones, who's not an oval, hasn't run one oval or in an Indy car, and he goes and finishes third.
Phil,
and I mean,
dude, imagine 2 years, man. You think Dixon has at least 2 good years left in him?
Oh, of course. He's got as long as he wants, because at the end of the day, Ganassi's not going to get rid of his bell cow.
How many more years does Dixon have?
He's got as much as he wants. Whenever he tells Ganassi he wants to quit, he'll quit. And the fact is, he's not going to quit. He's just going to go and drive the Ford GT, or they're going to make a prototype program, and then he'll drive that. That's all. He's going to continue to drive. I think in terms of being a competitive IndyCar driver, I'm trying to think. What is Scott Dixon? Is 34, 5, 6, something?
6, I think. 36, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
don't quote me on that.
I'm just going to look it up here.
Missy would know.
Yeah. She knows all the... Yeah, 1980, so he was born in 1980.
I'm 35 and I'm 83, so he's 80. Yeah. Oh my God, he's 88. He's 38.
Yeah, so he's probably going... It says he's 30. Yeah, it's 37, July 22nd of 1980.
Yeah, or 36, about to be 37.
Yeah, so I mean, the point is, he's probably going until he's 40. I would definitely think he'll go until he's 40, which means at a minimum 2 more years, maybe 3. But you also have to look at, well, who are they going to get to replace him? How do you replace one of the greatest drivers that's ever driven an IndyCar? It's virtually impossible.
You wait for the next one to come up. Joseph Newgarden say, Will Power, even Pagano, dude. I mean,
well, Simon had proven himself back in the Atlantic days, and when he drove for Team Australia, he wasn't like a slouch by any means.
I never said he was, no.
Yeah, him and Will were teammates then in kart, and they were both. I mean, of course, Will won races, but Simon carried himself very well. But then he had to go off and drive a sports car for a few years, and he did really well doing that. Hence, why the ride at Schmidt came along, and he finished second in the championship in a Schmidt car, which then made Penske think, oh, well, let me go and get him. And he did, and now he's an IndyCar champion too. So it's not when you're the ilk of like a Roger Penske, you obviously pick who you want. And he held out on Newgarden until he absolutely couldn't hold out anymore, and he got him, and it got good. And that one is gonna pay off for many years to come. it's him, and he has a bunch of young bucks in all of his series. You know, he has he has two young guys in NASCAR. He has two young guys, or he has one young guy in IndyCar. He has two young guys in Taylor and Dane Cameron in the sports cars, and Scott McLaughlin in V8s. So I mean, that's just how they roll. Ganassi doesn't like American drivers because he basically never bothers to hire any of them.
Yeah, when's the last American driver that actually ran for Ganassi? That's a good question. I can't think of one.
It can't be Mamo. Mamo Gidley was back. Jeff. I mean, Jeff Ward ran for him back in the IRL days. Mamo Gidley. Good God. It's been a long time. Yeah, it's been a very long time. I mean, everyone remembers Jimmy Vasser.
Of course.
Before he became a dick. But he, what is it? The American, because he sucked. Yeah, that's Chip Ganassi itself. That's why he couldn't do anything. I mean, he's most famous for wrecking at Michigan. That's the most famous thing he ever did in an IndyCar. He was almost off himself in one.
But at least he made it there. That's the point.
Yeah.
You're not a slouch driver if you make it there.
Yeah.
You can't. And that's the whole point about this new Aero kit. This new Aero kit is going to separate the good from the bad, dude. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, it's going to go back to what the series had become during those first few years with the new chassis, and it levels the playing field to a point. Hopefully the costs won't hurt the Dale Coynes of the world, and they'll be able to come out mainly because they have they have basically that whole Newman-Haas deal going on there with Sebastian Bourdais. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he'll be healthy enough.
Oh yeah,
hopefully they get somebody who can kind of stand up and handle that second car, like Tristan or an RC or whoever it may be that actually can drive.
Yep. Well, Phil, I think we're going to wrap it up here, man. But I want to ask you two questions before we go. All right, buddy? Now, when you're in the car, what makes you feel... No, I'm kidding. You're not a driver. And you've been on too many times. Okay, so give me your picks for the Coyne seat and the Ed Carpenter seat. What do you think is going to happen by St. Pete?
That's a great question. I mean, you know better than me because you're more in the know, and you have
but I don't know anything concrete either. So
yeah, I mean, I
would say it. I would say it, but I don't know. I just have my hopes.
I mean, as all I care is as long as it isn't like Guido Dacco and like Marco Greco. As long as it's not either of them driving those cars, I'm okay. Yeah. Or as long as it's not Danica or something, or somebody like your buddy Pipper.
It won't be.
Yeah. And as long, all I can say is in terms of that, the Coyne seat. I mean, the TBA seat with Coyne is going to be there for a while. It's going to take until January testing before we
even. Got to, yeah.
And there's no way
he's got to have somebody.
And I have no idea. I mean, because there's so many people that are employable. There's so many people who have cash.
Yeah, and that's
I think the RC Enerson. I can say this. I think the RC Enerson move to Ed Carpenter has a lot of validity, and mainly because they need the money. They need the money. Yeah. He's a good young talent. Comes from a good family. They're a family-based organization.
Yep.
They're
Lucas Oil Raceway School.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that one I can't say because the TBA Dale Coyne racing car has been that for like decades. So until last year, randomly, but
it was nice to see.
Yeah, it was nice to see. But
I mean, even though he did get the whole, Ed Jones, freebies from Mazda, that did help.
yeah, Ed Jones freebies from Mazda, and the fact he had talent and he was able to compete
Yep.
on virtually every circuit.
And he did.
And
He did great right up to Detroit too. You
yeah,
kidding? He didn't put a wheel wrong till then.
yeah.
And
I mean,
but because of Coyne's destruction and what's happened to him, that crash at Detroit 2 with Ed was so magnified, and I felt so bad for him. It was his first time he ever wrecked, and everybody's just like, "Oh, another Coyne car! Oh, good job, Ed!" And everybody killed him for it. It's like it's the dude's first screw up. Leave him alone.
yeah, I mean it's sports car. I mean, or whatever. Detroit is one of the crappiest
Oh my God, we
circuits.
shouldn't even be there.
Yeah, I mean it's because the captain runs the race. It's the only reason they're there. It's a horrible racetrack, and I
And
mean,
twice.
yeah, and then
Due to
and
Toronto.
yeah, well, Toronto's also ever since with all the new construction, they come because of the new hotel and everything. It's become brutal. I don't know how that's a raceable racetrack anymore. It barely is, especially on the front side.
Parker had
It,
no Parker had no trouble sweeping there.
well, yeah, well, that's why he's a legitimate race car driver. But then he's also driving a F2000 car, which is probably more suited to the narrow confines of that circuit. But
Dude, I'm telling you, that car is not that small. I gotta tell you, it's literally, I would say, 20% bigger than the Van Dien was
mm,
at the least. And same with the Pro Mazda. Bigger wing, bigger wheels, bigger everything, bigger side pods. So that one's about 30% bigger than what they were racing in. I can't remember the chassis, but with the rotary engine in it. And then I mean, the Indy Lights cars have just been getting better and better as they're figuring them out because they're a very weird type of Dallara. I gotta be honest. A lot of downforce being made from the top of the car, not the undercarriage of it. Um, the bottom diffuser or anything. But I think
yeah,
they are changing a little bit of that next year. So a little bit more downforce is going to be made from the bottom, not the top, on those cars because they just can't follow each other. They have no, you know, it's hard to pass with those cars because you can't
yeah.
follow somebody.
So yeah, it's definitely not easy to
No,
pass
not
with
in
those
the
cars,
least.
and then there aren't that many out there either. Like you were asking, like before we go off, we were talking
Sure.
about the Tarjay Chip Ganassi racing team and Americans. It was Karam, and before that it was Kimball and Graham.
I
Other than
remember that.
that, like going all like at past those three, the last time an American driver had driven for him in a full season was Jeff Ward in 2002, the
Gotcha.
legendary motocross supercross rider who had went to IndyCar racing. The late Tony Renna died before he ever had a chance to run for him,
That sucks.
and Jacques Lazier was hired as a replacement for Darren Manning um, back in 2005. But that's the last time an
Only,
American was 2002 in the IRL before Graham,
uh,
Charlie, and Sage. So
I
he
mean,
doesn't really hire American drivers all that much. He has a fondness for internationals.
the only reason I brought it up is because Ed learning off of Scott for at least 2 years is going to turn Ed into an amazing driver, dude.
Oh yeah, he's already a very quality uh,
Oh,
driver in a
he's so
sense.
he's just so relaxed and just reserved. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
he's a
like
quiet,
like Scott
understated
Dixon.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he had his personality melded very well with Seb, and he was willing
Mine
to
didn't.
learn. Yeah, yeah.
That
So
interview was terrifying. I don't have
yeah,
no idea why.
yeah. What with Sebastian?
Yeah.
He's an interesting character. He's French,
He's a bit
but
intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, but the guy, I think once you see how he is when he's around people he knows. He's a
You know
very,
me.
yeah, yeah, that's what it is. Once he doesn't know people, he gets kind of,
Yeah.
he kind of looks at everybody like they're Paul Tracy or something. But
No, he was cool enough. It was me that was nervous. It's okay. But I mean, it is on YouTube if you want to check it out.
yeah,
So anyway, okay, so you're saying RC to Carpenter, and you're saying
I have
who to
no clue.
who to coin?
I have no. It's. I'm gonna say TBA because I have no clue. I could. You could give me if I had a bowl and
You
I
can just
picked.
say Tristan. It's fine.
Oh sure.
Okay, good. Right on.
For
You know
for
what?
your yeah.
I agree with you, Phil. That you're a smart guy, dude. Smart guy. That's why Phil's on here because he's a smart dude, smart man.
Appreciate that.
So, I do like I said, cannot wait for 2018. That's why I named the group, the chat group that is on our Facebook fan page. Check it out. Go to our website. It's all there. One page. Thanks to Mike. By the way, Mike hasn't been on for a bit. I don't know if you noticed. He went off to start his own show. Good on him. Very proud of him. Really happy. More content for the fans of IndyCar to listen to, and that could be nothing but good. That's what I always say, man. We're not in competition with anybody. I'm glad Mike came on for that month and a half. Really enjoyed himself. Said, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. And he started his own show, and good on him. So, Mike, if you're hearing this, good luck. Nothing but best of luck to you, dude, and we'll definitely have you on once you start getting rolling, and definitely plug you so more people find you, man. Because you can't have too much content, right?
Yeah,
It's for the fans, The more content
absolutely.
for the fans, the better. And I'll tell you what, with the downloads and everything, I can't thank the fans out there enough. I mean, everybody's still excited during the off season, trying to hear what's going on for St. Pete in March, and it's not even December, so that's good. So really happy about that. Well, before we go, I just want to send out a get well soon to Denny Hamilton Jr. He was in a bit of a tough wreck, Irwindale, I believe.
Yeah, Irwindale and Must See Sprint. Yeah, that was a big wreck.
Yeah, I mean, he is updating everybody on Facebook, so that's good. Um, the fact is that he's updating Facebook, because he can, is the most important part of the whole thing.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter how it happened. I know why. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If racing's racing, doesn't matter. He wasn't the one being called the idiot. Doesn't matter. He's okay. So, Denny, get well soon, brother, man. So, just want to throw that out there. Any shouts you want to do before we get out of here, there, Phil?
no, I'm good to go.
Right on. So, Phil, you want to take us out with the knows?
Oh man, not this
So,
again.
hey, Phil. On that note, on get well soon, Denny.
Yeah, on Dave, isn't it Davey Hamilton?
Whatever.
Yeah,
It
it's
begins with a
Davey
D.
Hamilton Jr.
And it's 4:18 a.m.
Yeah, well, I don't know where I am anymore.
Boy, you
You know.
suck at the ending.
Well, I do suck at the ending.
Okay, Phil, just say on that note, and I'm going to try.
On that note.
You know that I know that Phil doesn't know anything at all, especially how to tie shoes. But Frank knows,